So for the last series on sealants, I'd like to do the last video on this different product here, stove and gasket cement. And that's the only other place where you need a different sort of gasket. For the transmission, for the engine, for glass, for weather stripping, for everything else. For motor mounts, I can use the polyurethane, this stuff here that I did on the previous video, but all except for one place: high temperature applications such as the exhaust. I actually put a little bit of silicone on an exhaust and it didn't seem to melt or burn off. It just sort of got hard to the point where it became a powder, and then it just blew off after that. Never put any of these products on an exhaust. I don't know what that would do, but I definitely know what this does. And you can get a normal high temperature gasket from RTV gasket from the auto parts store, but those things are very expensive, and some of them are paste, which is sometimes not desirable. And like I said, they're fairly expensive. And so I was walking through Canadian Tire one day, and I always like to look around different stores and see if I always keep an eye out for something that I might need, or that I might need in the future. So I actually walk around like I bet you it freaks people out sometimes, because I'm always just randomly walking around every single aisle in the store. I don't know what some people think of me, but that's the reason why. Sometimes I'll need something and then I'll say, hey, I remember where I've seen this, and there you have it. But I was walking around and I found this here. It was in the paint section: stove and gasket cement. So they don't call it a gasket or silicone. But what really caught my eye here is, look at this at the bottom. Black, resists temperatures up to 1093 Celsius. That's 2000 Fahrenheit. Now, I couldn't find any product at any automotive store that resisted temperatures up to this, this high. So this really caught my eye, and I think it cost under $10. So for the price, whereas other ones cost upwards of 20, even 30 if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while since I even looked at those garbages. So this really got me interested. It says non-asbestos, spreads easily, superior bonding. So I picked it up and I read through it here, and it says it's specifically suited for installing fiberglass gasket in wood stoves. So right away, that tells me that this here is supposed to resist to much higher temperatures than the regular RTV high temperature gasket for cars. And if you read it, they got all sorts of non-recommendations. Says do not apply on environments exposed to gasoline, even though everybody does it. It says there. So in theory, you couldn't really apply it to an engine. So, and a wood stove burns at a much higher temperature than an engine. Engines run at exaggerating 200 Celsius. In reality, my engine runs at 195 Fahrenheit, and I think that's pretty much top for any gasoline engine. So maybe that's about 160 Celsius or something like that. But a fire in a wood stove, it's running at maybe 500 Celsius. So, and it's exposed to flames. It's directly exposed to flames. Some of those gaskets, they work fine as long as they're not exposed to flames. So this really made me happy. So it's suited for installing fiberglass gasket in wood stove doors and making repairs on wood burning stoves. Application: wood burning stoves, metal to metal, metal to masonry. Repairs under 1/8 of an inch. Alright, so clean up, blah blah, blah blah. Insert cartridge into a caulking gun. Okay. Repairs: lightly dampen the surface area with water. I don't think I actually did this, but that is interesting. Lightly dampen the surface area with water. Apply cement with 1/8 bead. And then for a gasket replacement, apply the least amount of cement necessary into the gasket door channel. So ideally, you'd probably want to spread it around with your finger or maybe a spatula or something like that. Press the gasket firmly into the cement. Close the stove door and trim axis. Clean up axis with a wet cloth. So interesting. Clean up axis with cement with a wet cloth, so you can actually use water to clean it off when it's dry. Open stove door and allow 1 hour to dry. Heat gradually when starting first fire for heat cure, not for exterior use. So that's the theory, but I really go by a practice and reality. That's the end of the deal. That's where it all comes down to. So on applying this, the texture is just like a toothpaste. It feels exactly like a toothpaste. It dries pretty quickly. Like it said here, you need about 1 hour for it to dry. But if it's a small surface, it'll dry up even faster than that. And I actually use this on the exhaust manifold on the Rambler. And I've driven it quite a while with it, and there's no signs of this getting damaged whatsoever. So I didn't use, initially I tried just applying this directly, metal to metal, but it's got a tendency to crack, and it's not flexible at all. So here's a piece of this that was just left inside of the tube here, and as you can see, it's a fairly thick chunk, and as you can see, it's pretty hard. It almost feels like carbon or graphite. So this piece was actually, that was actually hard to crack. I can't crack that one. So there. It is fairly hard, and it is fairly strong. But as you can see, it's not flexible. So what happened when I first applied it directly to the exhaust pipe, there was too much of a big gap, and it actually ended up cracking the stuff here. As you can see, it's got no flexibility to it. So you gotta, whenever you apply it, you can't really have any movement between the parts. So looking back, I just tried it just for the sakes of it, but it will not work because of that. But then what I did later is I actually got a normal gasket sheet, one that has steel and sandwiched between it, and a high temperature sheet. I'll show you in just a minute. And I put this between it and between all the surfaces to act as a sealant, and that gave me perfect results. There's no exhaust leaks. The engine runs smoothly. Well, it ran smoothly before crankshaft was damaged, but it ran really quietly. No exhaust leaks whatsoever, which is quite a big accomplishment to me. I used to drive the car, and once I got out, my clothes and my hair all smelled like exhaust fumes and gasoline. But afterwards, I could put some perfume on, and I actually get out of the car still smelling the perfume. So the car smelled great, and so I'm really happy with this product. like it said here, it's not good for large gaps. You want it as small of a gap as possible. So that's the side of that's sort of a weak point. I'll show you what I used it on. I'm talking a little bit slower today, I guess, because I'm kind of tired. Still got so much to do. It's never ending. So there's the gaskets there. Here's the gasket sheet. I just bought it from Napa. And it works beautifully to me. At least so far. There's the camera with the zoom in. There. As you can see, you can sort of see a little bit of the gasket there. That is cement, stove cement. Here you can see a lot of it. And as you can see, it hasn't cracked. I think because I put so much of it, and there's no vibration or movement. As you can see here, I have two gaskets, one on top of the other. That's because the pipe here is sort of warped. And that fixed it. So let's try to get. As you can see, it looks like there is a little bit of space coming here, but this is really solid. As you can see, it looks like I applied the gasket yesterday, but I've already driven it about 700 kilometers or so with this on it. So really happy with this. I'm very happy, very satisfied. The high temperature product that actually works. And you can get it from Canadian Tire at a fraction of the price, and it works much better. Even these gaskets, they work really well too. No complaints. I could have cut it off a little bit more, I guess, but whatever. So with this short series of videos, this pretty much concludes all the gaskets, all the sealants you will ever need on your car. I'm just trying to think if there's anything that I missed that I should mention. Cleanup was, like it said, easy cleanup. It's not very sticky. It's very different than the other ones. And the polyurethane sealants, like that stuff, which is really sticky. This here is just like toothpaste, like I said. Texture. Once it dries up hard, so it is like a cement. It's pretty much, like the name says, it's a cement. Oh yeah, and the brand is Imperial. I never actually heard of that before. It says you're distributed by Kel Chem Limited. No idea what that is. Made in USA. So for all you Yankees, Americans out there, it's made in USA, if that matters to you. But it's distributed in NB Canada. And here's the website, www.imperialgroup.ca. So I don't know if this is sold in the States. I don't know. But I guess that concludes the sealants. I can't possibly think of another place where I'd need a different sealant that I don't have here. I really can't With these sealants here, I can use it, like I said, on pretty much anything and everything. On the exhaust, on differential, transmission, engine, weather stripping, doors, glass, rubber, paint, anything and everything. It's pretty much indestructible. This one is a little bit, you gotta be a little bit more careful with it. You can't have a thick gap, won't work on a thick gap. So this is the only one that has a little bit of sass to it. All the other ones you can just pretty much just apply it anywhere to anything. So like I said, I think this concludes the sealant videos. If anybody has a suggestion for another sealant or test that I should do, feel free to recommend me that. But just look at how much money I spent on these sealants here, just the ones that are on the table. So I have 3, 6. I've got 8. 8 of these bottles. So each one of them, let's say it's about $8. That I have $64 worth of sealant right here. So it adds up, and I spent a lot of time doing these videos, which I enjoy doing, and I'm glad to help other people. But just keep that in mind. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done here. Hope this helps, and enjoy the rest of your day, whoever you are, wherever you are. You're welcome.